Shalom, everyone. Barach. We rise together on page 103, Birchot HaShachar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sachvivina, להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בצלמו.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בת חורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, פוקח עברים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מרביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוכה וכבובים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקע הארץ על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשה לי כל צורכי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזי סל בגבול רב.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן ליהב גואל.
אמן.
122. ברוך שאמר והיה עולם, ברוך הוא. ברוך עושה בראשים, ברוך עושה מקיים, ברוך מרחם, סך הטובים, ברוך המלך עולם, ברוך הממונה יחיד חיר עולמים מלך משובח.
יחיד חיר עולמים מלך משובח, ומפואר את שמו הגדול. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מהולל, ותשבחו.
Amen. You may be seated.
So Shabbat Shalom, friends. It's good to be together. Those of us who are gathered here in the physical sanctuary, and those of us who are celebrating Shabbat in your own sanctuary of your home. We feel connected and through the spirit of Shabbat. So some of you may have noticed this week we had an incredible moon of Kislev. We just had the full moon, I believe, maybe last night or the night before. Yeah, Sybil knows. And it's just so powerful always to see the moon ablaze in the sky, but there's something about the Kislev moon during this particularly dark time of year, and I think we had the lunar eclipse. And did anybody stay up to see that? No, that was, oh wow, like 2 o'clock in the morning. That's impressive. But actually, if you break down the word Kislev, it means kis is a pocket. I know, but there's a midrash that it's lev is actually not spelled heart. But there's a midrash that it's like a heart pocket. So it's a beautiful time of year to think about what is in the pocket of your heart. What are you carrying with you? And Shabbat is an especially auspicious time to just kind of hold a candle in the spirit of Hanukkah, to hold a candle to see what is stored away in the pocket of your heart. We tend to put things that we don't want to lose in our pockets, things that we want to have handy but that we don't want to lose. So to use our tefillah as a space in which we can remember what's in our pockets, maybe what we want to take out of our pocket, but also what we want to keep close. So we're going to continue this morning with Psukei de Zimra as we just warm up and arrive. And we're going to continue on page 132. I know as I get closer to Hanukkah, I just feel a heightened awareness of the miracles, of course, not just the great miracles that happen throughout history, but really the miracles of my existence, of our existence, all the things that had to happen to make it possible for us to be here in this moment. And for me, that is very much the spirit of this psalm, Ki le'olam chasdo, that God's love is everlasting, that God has guided us through so many moments where it could have been the end of us, but it was not. And so how do we want to use this time knowing that our mere existence is a miracle? Hodula Adonai ki tov,
Ki le'olam chasdo,
Hodula Elohei ha'Elohim,
Ki le'olam chasdo, Hodula Adonai Adoni,
Ki le'olam
chasdo, le'oseh nifla gedol levado, Ki le'olam chasdo,
לעושה השמיים בתבונה,
Ki le'olam chasdo,
לרוקע ארץ המים,
Ki le'olam chasdo, le'oseh orim gedolim, Ki le'olam chasdo,
את השמש לממשלת ביום,
Ki le'olam chasdo, את הירח והכוכבים באמת שלו בלילה, Ki le'olam chasdo, למכה מצרים בבחוריהם, Ki le'olam chasdo,
ויוצא ישראל מתוכם,
Ki le'olam chasdo,
ביד חזקה וזרוע נטויה,
Ki le'olam chasdo, לגוזר ים סוף לגזרים, Ki le'olam chasdo, ובישראל מתוכו, Ki le'olam chasdo,
ונהיה פרעה וחילו וים סוף,
Ki le'olam chasdo,
למוליכמו במדבר,
Ki le'olam chasdo, למכה מלאכים גדולים, Ki le'olam chasdo, ויחרון מלאכים אדירים, Ki le'olam chasdo,
לסיחון
מלך האמורי, Ki le'olam chasdo,
ולוג מלך הבשן,
Ki le'olam chasdo, נתן ארצם לנחלה, Ki le'olam chasdo, נחלה ישראל עבדו, Ki le'olam chasdo,
שבשפלנו זכה לנו,
Ki le'olam chasdo,
ויפרקנו
יצרנו, Ki le'olam chasdo, נותן לחם לכל בשר, Ki le'olam chasdo, הודו
השמיים, כי לעולם חסדו. We continue now with Ashrei Yoshvei Vetecha, page 136. Ashrei
דודש בך מעשיך ודבדינו עד הכבוד עודיך ודברי נפתיך שיחה ועזרה חרבנה לכל רחמה וכל מעשה פתח דרך מזמין תדבך קודש השם קודש
ואנחנו נברכיה מעתה ועד עולם.
הללויה הללויה.
Psalm 150, page 141. 141. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Take a deep breath, neshima amuka. Feel our aliveness and allow that breath to be its own prayer of gratitude. Nishmat Kol Chai, page 145. Nishmat Kol Chai, Tivarech et Shimcha Adonai Eloheinu, Beruach Kol Basar, Tivarech Ramen Zichach Makeinu Tamid, Min Olam Olam Umidoladecha, En Banu Melech Kol Mashiach, בכל יצרה וצוקה, אין לנו מלך, אלא אתה הראשונים, והאחרונים, מלך הבריות, אדון כל תולדות, המהולל ותשבחות, המנהל ומחסרת הרחמים, אדוני לא ינוח, ולא ישן.
Bottom 146.
Miyid melach
Mishmelach Yarolah
Hagadol hagibor v'yanora El Elyon v'neshamayim v'haaretz V'lelecha neshabechecha v'erecha v'arech et shem kodshecha kamor
Ledavid Magid Adonai
et shem kodshecha Ha'el b'tatzmot uzecha Ha'gadol yehod shemecha Ha'kibul hanetzach v'nora v'norotecha Ha'melech ha'yoshev al kisei v'nizah
147.
Shochen ad maharam v'kadosh shemo
וכתוב הצדיקים באדוני שם נבע תהילה
ישרים תתעלה
ודברי צדיקו דברה
ובלשון חסידים תתרומם
ובקרב קדושים תתקדש ומרגלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. ברכות והודות מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני בשמו
המלך גדול בתשבחות אל הודעות אדוני נפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה
מלך
העולמים
148.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה
אמן.
תברוך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחיית כל בית ישראל פגלה בזמן קריב וימרו
אמן. ישמר בבורא לעולם וימיה
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ושפחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה וימרו אמן.
149, a slight bow for the Baruch Hu.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך
may be seated 150.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Yotzer or uvorei Hoshe Aseh Shalom
uvorei et hakol hakol
הכל בדרך יונדתו של מזרח מלאות ומטובה מחדש ממעשה מלך נאמם לבד משובה
דרכך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה ויהי זרועך מוקינו לחיי עולם הבא חסדך גודל נעימת המשיח ויהן דמלך המשיענו לתחיית המתים
151
לאדון הכל המעשים ברך ומבורך בפיקו נשמה גדול וטובו מעלה עולם דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו המתקהל החיות הכל ונתן לכבוד על המרכבה זרעות ומישורים נחיזון חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצר המדע ובינה ובשכל כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל בני זיוון ויקים נוגה נעזיבה וכל העולם ועצת עזזים מבואה עושים מימה רצון קונם ברחבות נוענים לשמות צולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו הר על השמש והמזרח אורה והגדיל את צורת הלבנם שבע נוענים לו צבע מהרות עיוורת וגדולה סרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים
152 מזמור שינו שבתו ולודות לאדוני שבי רכה גדולה ינון יברך מישהו עשה תתברך צוקנו מוכנו ישתבח שמכמוכנו Top 153
כולם
אהובים
כולם
ואלוהים
כולם גיבורים
וכולם עושים באימה וביראה
רצון קונם וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ותורה בשירה ובזמרה ומברכים ושבים ומפארים ומעריצים
ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור והנורא הקדושה
וכולם מקבלים עליהם כל מלכות שמיים זה מזה ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש ליוצרה בנחת רוח בשפה ורעה ובנעימה קדושה כולם כאחד עונים תמרים ויראה קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות אלוהים עבודו והאופנים וחיות הקודש ורעש גדול מנסים לעומת סרפים לעומת המשברים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו
ליל ברוך נעימות לך וכנסת לשוכן אור חדש.
הציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה, אדוני, יוצר המאורות.
154, we grab the four corners of our talit, tzitziot, together to prepare for Shema Yisrael. אהבתנו נעלנו, חמלה גדולה ותרחמת עלינו, ורחמן המרחם רחם. האר עינינו דגנבק נזדך, כי בשם קודשך נגון. אבינו שמע. כי יושעתה טוב אנוכת.
קרבנו לשמך קדושה באמת, להודות לך וליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו,
הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע
ישראל,
אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני
אהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננת פניך ודיברת בם, בשיתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, היו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. Page 156, find שמות, תשמעו את השנוכי מצווה אתכם. חביתם להם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת,
ויציב נכון קיים ישר, נאמן ברוך אביב נחמנו, אמן.
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים, וכיסו נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת.
157. זה ישראל שנחמנו.
אמת שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו ואמותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו ואמותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, פודנו מצילנו מן עולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו ואמותינו אתה ומעולם.
אמן. Middle 158.
תהילות אל עליון ברוך ומבורך, משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך בנים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נוראתי לא תוספת. שירה חדשה, שיבחו גאולים לשמך, שפת הים יחד כולם, הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה, בעזרת ישראל קומה, ובתן יומך יהודה וישראל. צור ישראל קומה, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש 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 ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני.
So, Chevra, our feet together, face Jerusalem. Pages 159 to 161, we daven together as a congregation. Rest the Amidah is done silently.
Adonai Sevatai Titkach Ufi Agini Tehilatecha Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ביעבם מלך עוזר ופוקד מושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיים מתים את הרב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מחלקל חיים וחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים שמח נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורי ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומה לה מלך ממית ומחיה ומטריח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים נקדש שמך בעולם גשם מעריכים אותו בשמי מרום הכתוב היה נביאך וקרא זה זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך כל הארץ כבודו אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מתנשאים לעומת שרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך
מלכנו נופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון תתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים בינינו תראינה מלכותך קדושתך להקדיש לשבחך אלוהינו מפינו ושלם באר כי על מלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברי חירותיו ימליך מלכותי בחיי חון ובמכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב והימרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם לעולמי יתברך
וישתבח, ויתפאר, ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי קודשה.
בריחו.
לילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דעמירן ואלמה ויהימרו, אמן. תתקבל צלותון, ואותון דחו ישראל, קדם אבל הון דבישמי ויהימרו, אמן. יהי שלום ארמין שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויהימרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל ויהימרו, אמן. אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, ובמשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני עוז לבוא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. היטיב רצונך את ציון, תבנה חומות ירושלים, כי בכל לבד בטחנו, נלך ארם ונישא אדון עולמים. ויהי בנשוא הארון, ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני, ויבוזו אויביך, וינוסו משנאיך מפניך,
כי
מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה, תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה, תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
אחד אלוהינו גדול, אדוננו קדוש שמו.
אחד אלוהינו, גדול אדוננו. Just turn towards the ark, right? Just stand like this and take a slight bow with me.
גדול אדוני
Beautiful
איתי,
job. Walk this way.
ונרוממה
You go to the right and around. No. Just down the steps to the area.
אדוני הגדולה והגבורה, והתפארת והנצח וההוד, יחול בשמיים ובארץ, יחול בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, תמיד נעשה לכל ראש. לך אדוני הגדולה הגבורה, והתפארת והנצח וההוד, יחול בשמיים ובארץ, יחול בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, תמיד נעשה לכל לראש. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו לנמרתו קדוש הוא. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, יאללה
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Great to see everyone. Our chevra at home. Everyone that's here. Shabbat Shalom. We are reading from Parshat Vayishlach in the larger red books, the Chumashim, verse 16, page 214. We are now in the middle of the dynamic of Jacob and Esau continues. They are knocking along so well, but in this Torah portion, beautifully, they actually come back together and reunite and kind of reconcile. We'll hear more about this in our Devar Torah discussion. Section reading here is actually about the death of Rachel. Rachel, she is buried in a place called Efrat, but actually now is an Israeli town today. Some would call it a settlement today. It's in the West Bank, actually. It still exists Ephrata. Efrat is a place where Rachel is buried, and it's a very sad moment. I'm going to have the honor of naming that. So we are on verse 16, page 214. ויעזוב הגים ושכסים בו ונאמר אמן הכל הבו גודל לאלוהינו כבוד לתורה תעמוד שרחיה בת אברהם אלי הלוי ורחל שרה לעלי הראשונה ברוך שתת ויסו בשעתו ואתם אביגים אדוני אלוהים הם היום.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. ויסעו מבית תהל, ויהי עוד כברת הארץ לבוא אפרתה, ותלד רחל, ותקש בלידתה, ויהי בקשותה בלידתה, ותאמר לה, מיילדת אל תראי, כי גם זה לך בן, ויהי בצד נפשה, כי מתה, ותקרא שמו בן אוני, ואביו קרא לו בנימין. ותמות רחל, ותיקבר בדרך אפרתה, היא בית לחם, ויצב יעקב מצבה על גבורתה, היא מצבת גבורת רחל עד היום, ויסע ישראל, ואת אוהלו מהלה למגדל עדר, ויהי וישכון ישראל בארץ ההיא, וילך ראובן, וישכב את בלהה פילגש אביו, וישמע ישראל, ויהיו בני יעקב 12, בני לאה בכור יעקב, ראובן, ושמעון, ולוי, ויהודה, ויששכר וזבולון, בני רחל, יוסף ובנימין, ובני בלעה, שפחת רחל, דן ונפתלי, ובני זלפה, שפחת לאה, גד ואשר, אלה בני יעקב, אשר יולד לו בבדם ארם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam tenata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekah. So our second aliyah, in verse 27, page 215. While they're coming forward, invite all to please rise. We'll offer a special Misha Berach. Tamud Hanalea Bat Avrasal Aliyah Shenit. So I pause in the midst of this prayer and invite you to offer the names quietly who are holding in your heart who are in need of healing. Misha Berach Avotenu, Abba Mitzak Yaakov, Vimotenu Sarka Rachel V'Leah, Hu Yivarech V'Rapeh Et Achonim, Esamod HaChamer HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimei Rachamim Aleihem L'Achzikam Rapotam וישלח להם רפואה שלמה תפילת הנפש והגוף, ובתוך שהאחרונים חזק כדי יסכים בצורכיהם. שבת מזו קרובה לבוא, השתה בגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר Amen. May the Holy One who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all those we pray for. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill and may God grant strength to those who tend to them. The Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out. We hope and pray that healing is at hand, and let us say together,
Amen.
Elna Revana La, Elna Revana La, Elna Revana La, Revua Shelema. Elna Revana La, Elna Revana La, Elna Revana La, Revura Shelema. You may be seated. Second Aliyah, verse 27, page 215.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayavar Yaakov El Yitzchak Aviv Mamrei Kiryat Harba Hiv Chevron Asher Gasham Avraham V'Yitzchak Vayu Yamei Yitzchak Me'at Shana Ishmanim Shana Vayikva Yitzchak Vayamot Vayasaf Elamav Zaken Usva Yamim Vikbaru Oto Esav Yaakov
Banav.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam neta b'tochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen. Shekoach, kol hakavod. Our third Aliyah, verse 1, page 216. Tamod, Karen Bat Avram Basara, Aliyah. Shlishi.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'elek toldat Esav hu Edom. Esav lakach et nosha mibnot Canaan et Adah. Bat Elon hachiti v'yaroli v'ama bat Anah bat Silon achivi. V'et basmat ba Yishmael nebayot. V'teled Adah Esav et Eliphaz. Uvasmat yalda Ruel ve'aholivama yalda Eyush v'et Yalam v'et Korach Ele b'nei Esav asher yuldu lo v'eretz Canaan v'yikach Esav et nashav v'et banav v'et benotav v'et kol nafsho beto v'et mignehu v'et kol behemto v'et kol kinyano asher rachash b'eretz Canaan v'yelech el eretz mibnei Yaakov achiv ki hayarech Sham Rav mishavet yachdav Lo yachla Eretz Migurehem, Laseidatam, Mignehem, Vayeshev Esav Behar Seir, Esav Hu Edom.
Edom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekoach Marakati, Kol HaKavod. Tonight, our fourth Aliyah, we are verse 9, page 217. Yamor Yosef ben Avraham bela Pero, l'Aliyah Revi'it.
Baruch Hu es Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch
Va'ed.
Adonai Baruch Olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher baruch banu mikol hamim v'nosan lanu es toroso. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'ela toldotesav aviadam behar seir elesh mepnei sav Eliphaz ben Adai esher Esav Ruel ben Basmar esher Esav Vayiyu b'nei Eliphaz Teman Omar Tzfavigatam Uknaz V'timna Haita Filegesh Lelifaz ben Esav Vatela Lelifaz et Amalek Ela b'nei Adaf Esher Esav V'ela b'nei Ruel Nachav Zerach Shemal Misa Ela hayu b'nei Basmar Esher Esav V'ela hayu b'nei Al Halivama Batana Batzivon Esher Esav V'telet Lesav V'yush v'yalam v'yakorach Ela alufei v'nei Esav b'nei Eliphaz b'chor Esav aluf Teman aluf Omar aluf Tzifo aluf Kenaz aluf Korach aluf Gatam aluf Amalek Ela alufei Eliphaz b'eretz Edom Ela b'nei Adam V'ela b'nei Ruel b'nei Esav aluf Nachar aluf Zerach aluf Shema aluf Misa Ela alufei Ruel b'eretz Edom b'nei Ela b'nei Basmar esher Esav V'ela b'nei Oliva Maha esher Esav aluf Yush aluf Yalam aluf Korach Ela alufei Oliva Maha Batana esher Esav Ela b'nei Esav V'ela alufehem
Hu Edom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher nosan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam nata b'zechenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. So not so fast, Joel. I understand you have a small birthday coming up. Or is it today, actually?
It was last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday. Well, first of all, it's wonderful to see some of your mishpacha here and your
Yes.
family here and be involved in the Kiddush today. We are so grateful and so touched by that. But we want to wish you, Mamash, a happy birthday. But even more than that, all jokes aside about birthdays, as they get those cards in the Hallmarks, stores, it says like each birthday, all kinds of jokes about getting older and, the pains that come and the struggles that come and the eyeglasses that come and all that stuff, right? But the beauty of it, deep in a spiritual place, it's also a place for gratitude and being grateful to have reached this moment, to have the loving family you have, to be part of this wonderful congregation. You guys have been here already a number of years, and we feel so blessed. You're not just in New York all the time, but you're down here or traveling the world all the time, although God willing, that'll continue and the COVID dies down. But we are so blessed to have you as part of this congregation and to celebrate your birthday. We are grateful for you and your family and wish you mazel tov until 120, healthy like Moses, like you say. Mazel tov, mazel tov. All right. Other side, bavakasha. We now continue verse 20, page 218. Genesis chapter 36, verse 20, page 218. Tamona Sarama Shabbat Chaimumata Aliyah Hamishit.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ele b'nei seir hachari yoshvei haaretz. Lotan ushval
Vishoval. Lotan
b'nei seir hachari yoshvei haaretz. Lotan v'shalav v'tzivon v'ana v'dishan v'yetzer v'dishan. Ela alufei achari b'nei seir b'eretz Edom v'ayu v'nei lotan chari v'heimam v'achot v'ela b'nei tzivon
Achot Lotan.
v'yaval shvo v'onan v'ela b'nei tzivon v'ayavana u'ana Asher matzat hayemim b'midbar biratot hachamarim letzivon aviv v'ele v'nei ana dishon v'aholivama batana v'ele b'nei dishon chemdan v'yashban v'yitran uchran Eile b'nei etzer bilchan v'zakan v'akan Eile b'nei dishan u'tvaran Eile alufei hachori aluf lotan aluf shaval aluf tzivon aluf ana aluf dishon aluf etzer aluf dishan El halufei achari, lalufeihem b'eretz seir. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekoach. Sarah. Kol hakavod. Linda. Tamod Melka ben Beit Elazavayenta Aliyah HaShishit. The sixth Aliyah. We're in verse 31, page 219.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ele ha-melachim asher malachu be'eretz Edom lifnei melech lifnei Yisrael vayimloch be'Edom Bela ben Beor v'shem irodin hava. Vayamot bala, vayimloch tachtav. Yovav ben Zerach bimot mibots raha. Vayamot Yovav. Vayimloch tachtav. Husham me eretz hat temanihi. Vayamot Husham. Vayimloch tachtav. Hadad ben Bedad. Hamaket Midyan biste Moav. Veshem iro avit. Vayamot Hadad. Vayimloch tachtav. Samla mi masrekaha. Vayamot samlaha. Vayimloch tachtav. Shaul me richovot hanahar. Vayamot Shaul. Vayimloch tachtav. Baal Hanan ben Achbor. Vayamot Baal Hanan ben Achbor. Vayimloch tachtav Hadad. Hadar. V'shem iro pa'u. V'shem ishto me hateval. But me hetav el. But me matred. But me
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Our seventh Aliyah, verse 40, page 220. That's right. And also a birthday person, too. All right. Yamdu Fishot Laban ben Mom first, Bela Rachel. Moshe Berak Kohen, Vegal Chava bat Avidor Shimon Rivka Leah, Lalia Shvi'it. So seventh Aliyah, verse 40, page 220.
Ve'el Shemot.
Baruch Hu es Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Hanevra Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu michol ha'amim. V'nasan lanu es Toraso. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Va'ele shemot alufei esav lemishpachotam limkomotam bishmotam aluf timna aluf alva aluf yitet aluf halivama aluf ela aluf pinon aluf kenaz aluf teman aluf miftzar aluf magdiel aluf iram אלה אלופי אדום למושבותם בארץ אחוזתם הוא עשיו
אבי אדום.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Toras emet. V'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. Shekoch, we rise together. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yamad yivrach chirutei v'amlik malchutei v'chayecha. V'yomecha v'chayrecha beit Yisrael. V'agala v'agala u'rizan gariv meru. Amen. Shmei Rabbah mevorach. Le'olam me'amaya yitbarach. Yitbarach yishtabach v'yitbar v'yirmam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmer Godesha, Rivo Leila Mikol Berchata v'Shirata,
Tushmechata menechemata, Tamiram
Vimeru.
Amen.
May be seated. Tamot Sharon Bat Chaim U'Dvora Lamaftira, verse 40, page 220.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Hanevor Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Va'ele shemot alufei esav lemishpachotam limkomotam bishmotam aluf timna aluf alva aluf yitet aluf halivama aluf ela aluf pinon aluf kenaz aluf timan aluf miftzah aluf magdiel aluf iram ele אלופי אדום, למושבותם בארץ אחוזתם, הוא עשיו
אבי אדום.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Shekoch, we rise to lift address the Sefer Torah. Yamod, Daniel ben Avram Sarah, Hamagmiat Amon. Shoshana bat Ana velveitana golelet. Vedot HaTorah, Asher Zamoshe, Livnei Yisrael,
Al pi
Adonai, Moshe.
Ya la 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 ya
La 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya 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 Sefer Torah is placed down. You may be seated, everyone. Now with the Haftarah, page 222. 222.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habacher b'Torah uv'mashavto uv'Yisrael amo uv'inviei ha'emet בצדק.
Amen.
חזון עובדיה, כה אמר אדוני אלוהים לאדום, שמוע שמענו מאת אדוני, וציר בגויים שולח, קומו ונקומה עליה למלחמה. הנה קטון נתתיך בגויים, בזוי אתה מאוד. זדון לבך השייך, שוכני וחג וסלע מרום שבטו, אומר בליבו מי יורידני ארץ. אם תגביה כנשר, ואם בין כוכבים שים קינך, משם הורידך נאום אדוני. אם גנבים באו לך, אם שוטטי לילה, איך נדמת, הלא יגנבו דים, ואם בוצרים באו לך, הלא ישירו עוללות. איך נחפשו עשיו, ניבאו מצפוניו, עד הגבול שילחוך, כל אנשי בריתך השיעוך, יכלו לך אנשי שלומך, לחמך ישימו מזור תחתיך, אין תבונה בו. הלא ביום ההוא נאום אדוני, והעבדתי חכמים מאדום, ותבונה מהר עשיו. וכתו גיבורך תימן, למען יכרת איש, מהר עשיו מקטל, מחמס אחיך יעקב תכסך בושה, ונכרת לעולם. ביום עמדך מנגד, ביום שבות זרים חילו, ונוכרים באו שעריו. ועל ירושלים ידעו גורל, גם אתה כאחד מהם. ותרא ביום אחיך, ביום נוכרו, ואל תשמח לבני יהודה ביום עבדם, ואל תגדל פיך ביום צרה. אל תבוא בשער עמי ביום אדם, אל תרא גם אתה ברעתו ביום אדום, ואל תשלח נא וחילו ביום אדום. ואל תעמוד על הפרק להכרית את פליטיו, ואל תסגר שרידיו ביום צרה. כי קרוב יום אדוני על כל הגויים, כאשר עשית יעשה לך, גמולך ישוב בראשך. כי כאשר שתיתם על הר קודשי, ישתו כל הגויים תמיד, ושתו ולאו, והיו כלא היו. ובהר ציון תהיה פלטה והיה קודש, וירשו בית יעקב את מורשיהם. והיה בית יעקב אש, ובית יוסף להבה, ובית עשיו לקש, ודלקו בהם ואכלום, ולא יהיה שריד לבית עשיו, כי אדוני דיבר. וירשו הנגב את הר עשיו, והשפלה את פלישתים, וירשו את שדה אפרים, ואת שדה שומרון, ובנימין את הגלעד. V'galut hachel hazeh livnei Yisrael asher kanaanim ad Sarafat v'galut Yerushalayim asher bisfarad Yerushu et arei hanegev v'alu mashim b'har Tzion lishpot et har Esav v'hayatal Adonai hamelucha Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol haolamim tzadik b'chol hadarot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'oseh hamdaber kayem shekol devarav emevad tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha v'davar echad midvarecha achor lo yeshuv rekam ki hamelech ne'eman v'rachaman ata baruch ata Adonai ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav rachem al Tzion ki hi beit chayenu v'la'aluvat nefesh toshia b'mheira v'yameinu baruch ata Adonai L'sameach Tzion b'vaneha
Amen.
Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha uv'malchut beit David meshichecha b'mheira yavo v'yagil libeinu al kiso lo yesh sevzar v'lo yinchalu od acherim et kvodo ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo shelo yichbe neiro le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Magen David
Amen.
Al haTorah v'al ha'avodah v'al hanvi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha l'chavod u'tifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mvarchim otach Yitbarach Shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Mekadesh
Amen. Shekach Shem Kol HaKavod. We rise together and invite those honored to carry the Sefer Torah to come forward. Page 183.
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי
כי
נשגב
נשגב
שמו לבדו. הודו על ארץ ושמיים, ויהרג גר לעמו, הילה לכל חסידה, לבני ישראל עם קרובו. הללויה, הללויה, מזמור לדוד. Havul Adonai Eli, Havul Adonai Gavol Laos, Havul Adonai Gevot Shema, Ishtachavu Adonai Be'adrat Kodesh. Kol Adonai Lamayim, Melakavodirim, Adonai Almayim Rahabim. Kol Adonai Ba'akoach, Kol Adonai Be'adar, Kol Adonai Shomer וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנות וירקיתם כמו עגל לבנות וסיריות כמו בין רהמים כל אדוני חוצב להבות אש כל אדוני יחיו מדבר יחיו אדוני מדבר קדש כל אדוני יכול אלינו ויחשוף יראות ובכלו כולו אומר כבוד, אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז ועמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, את חיים למחזיק עמה, וטוב חיה מאושר, דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שם.
elecha.
Nashuva Kadesh Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu
Have you see everyone? Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Ken. Karen, you're first. We
All
have
right,
a new practice.
we have a
Karen.
new handout policy here, a new handout way. We are saving papers, so we have announcement Shabbat bulletin on one side, and
Okay.
on the back you have the text for our Devar Torah. For those joining us from home, you should be able to. There's a link next to the live stream where you should be able to click and connect to the text that we're going to be studying this morning. All right, but everybody has a text one way or another?
Karen.
Fantastic. All right, so as Rabbi Eric said, we have an amazing parsha this week with Vayishlach. There are a couple incredible moments that happen in this parsha, but we're going to focus specifically towards the end of the parsha when Esav and Yaakov, who have been estranged, brothers who have been estranged. Remember, Yaakov sort of leaves home in a hurry. He is escaping to the wilderness because he has cheated, you could say, stolen the birthright from his brother. He is sort of leaving for his own destiny, which is to continue the Jewish people, to be part of the covenant. Esav is left out, but there's a moment where they're going to potentially reconcile. They're going to meet again, and they exchange messages among their messengers. Yaakov tries to endear Esav by offering all kinds of gifts. Esav refuses. But here they are finally at this moment when they meet together after many years of being apart. So we're going to focus just on this one line. And we titled this teaching this morning, A Scribal Anomaly, Just Dots, or Is Something Larger Going On? So we actually bolded the word. If you look in the Torah, this word that is bolded is not bolded. There's no bold in the Torah, nor is this word enlarged, but we enlarged it so that you could see it. But what is unusual and is in the Torah are all of these little dots on top of the word Vayishakehu. So Rabbi Eric, will you just read out this first verse?
So Esav ran to greet him, meaning Yaakov. He embraced him, and falling on his neck, he kissed him, and they wept.
So this word Vayishakehu, which means he kissed him, Esav kissed Yaakov, has all of these little dots at the top. All right, so first of all, just very interesting to note this scribal anomaly and to inquire, to explore together what they might possibly teach us. There are 10 words in the Torah that have these dots on them. And when we ask the question why, we don't really have a specific answer. There's a beautiful midrash which I brought here, which I just thought was really kind of cute. It's a very humbling midrash, but the question is raised in the midrash in Avot de Rabbi Natan, why these dots? And will you read out the midrash?
So why? For this is what Ezra said. Ezra's the scribe that brought the Torah kind of to be read publicly and things like this. If Eliyahu comes, Elijah the prophet comes and says to me, why did you write it this way with all the dots? I will say to him, I have already put dots above these words to indicate I was not certain it was correct. But if he says to me, you wrote it correctly, then I will remove the dots.
All right. So I just thought it's a very, very sweet midrash, very humbling one that essentially describes Ezra writing down the dots and including them, even though he wasn't totally sure, knowing that he would eventually bring the issue up with Eliyahu Hanavi in the world to come to settle the matter. So the dots don't impact our pronunciation of that word. We've been copying that way. Scribes have been copying that way for hundreds of years. But there is a sort of agreement among commentators that the dots, at the very least, invite some some kind of emphasis. There's either a difficulty with the word, or there's something here that is meant, very literally, to draw our attention. What exactly is going on here? And it might be surprising. I mean, think about it. These brothers had tremendous difficulty over, you could probably say, their entire lifetime as twins, literally from birth, where Yaakov comes out holding on to Esau's heel. They have years of estrangement, and in this moment where they come together, you might imagine that kissing is not the obvious thing that would possibly have occurred.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to explore the Midrash, two possibilities about what this kissing thing is all about, and then we want to hear what you have to say. What do you think is going on? And if one of those ideas in the Midrash really resonates for you, or maybe you have another idea altogether.
Okay,
All right,
so
Rabbi.
Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar said, this teaches that Esau felt compassion that moment and kissed Yaakov with all his heart. Rabbi Yanai said to him, if so, why is the word vayishakehu dotted? Rather, it teaches that Esau came not to kiss Yaakov, nashak, but to bite him, nashach. That's another way of reading, adding a slightly different vowel. Our father Yaakov's neck became marble, and Esau's teeth were hurt, because kahu sounds similar to vayishakehu, and he kissed him. So it's like even more like he tried to bite him, but all of a sudden Jacob's neck became hard. And why did the Torah say they cried? Yaakov cried because his neck was bitten, and Esau cried because his teeth hurt.
Okay. So it's playful. It's really actually beautiful as you get into the Hebrew, like the way that the rabbis were doing all of these word plays. But we have two opinions offered here. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar essentially says that Esau had a change of heart. I don't know about you, but I've had this in moments, like moments where there's been difficulty for a long time and that anger sort of builds up and festers, and I can almost, like, it's slightly fantasy, but slightly just imagining like what I'm going to say in that moment when I see that person again whom I'm really angry, and I'm going to just unleash it, and I may have it a whole thing rehearsed, and all of a sudden I see them, and oh my gosh, like my heart just softens, and I essentially have a change of heart. And so that's what's being described here. Esau has a change of heart where he once felt hatred. All of a sudden he sees this brother and he feels their connection, and he realizes at the end of the day he loves him, and he kisses him. And then we have Rabbi Yanai, who reads the verse differently, of course, in this really playful way. And he's saying that these dots that are above the word vayishakehu, they kissed, are a sign that the interaction was not as peaceful as it appears. But instead, Esau basically tried to harm his brother. He like went in for the kiss, and instead, bit him. And somehow, like a miracle occurred, and Yaakov's neck became hard marble. Esau was not able to penetrate the skin, and Yaakov sort of got away. But each of them is left actually kind of harmed in a certain way. All right, so thoughts, questions. What's your instinct, your intuition about what these dots might be trying to invite us to consider about what actually happened in this moment of seeing each other again? I'm not even going to say reconciliation. Yes, Dan.
Well, my first reaction is this must have been written by Bram Stoker. It took place in Transylvania.
Oh, okay.
I think basically is that he realizes that they're both getting on in years, and this is the closest relationship that he has.
Yeah.
That it's water under the dam. It's best to forgive, and then the rift between the two of them.
Beautiful. Okay, so Dan is suggesting that in this moment, Esau may have come in angry, but he sees Yaakov and he realized, like, you're my closest living relative, and sort of has this moment in his heart where he says, it's water under the bridge. Let's let the past be the past and reconnect.
Sure.
Beautiful. Ellen.
Well, it kind of reminds me, because when Abraham died, I mean, Ishmael and Isaac were, like butting heads, at least from Sarah's point of view, certainly. But they came together to bury
That's right.
So they basically made peace. But I mean, the rabbis never liked Ishmael, and they certainly don't like Esau.
That's right.
So some of this, I think, is just that the attitude, well, we got to have bad guys, so we're going to make peace with the bad guys, and they can't ever do anything right.
Yes.
And they Jacob really good, but if you read the whole set of chapters on Jacob,
He's more complicated, yes.
I think you're totally right, Anne.
very nice person.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Anne.
beautiful. So Ellen is suggesting that Yaakov and Esav, the rabbis really like this idea of kind of good guys and bad guys. And even though we know just from reading the simple text that Yaakov is incredibly complicated, just as Esav is complicated, like the rest of us, there are probably this midrash highlights for us the tension. There were some rabbis who really wanted to clearly make Esav the bad guy, so they're sort of reading in that he tried to bite him. And other rabbis who were like, actually, no, maybe a different and more nuanced understanding of Ishmael. He wasn't just good and bad. Like, he had a moment of good here.
So I just want to add on Ellen is saying here, I think Ellen's making a very strong point here. It's like not only this kind of stereotype of Esav, right? But you can imagine what's like the subcontext of the rabbis. The rabbis are living under a kind of Roman rule, and this is in some ways a debate on how should we deal with the Romans. Because Romans are seen as Edom, Esav.
Which we heard in today's Torah reading,
Exactly.
that whole lineage.
So it's like some of the rabbis are saying basically like, you never trust them. They're going to bite you in the neck the moment they can, right? Others are saying, well, if they come to us nicely, shouldn't we work it out? You can see this is kind of a dynamic about how we deal with any of our complicated, competitors. How do you deal with China? How do you deal with
oppressors?
Right, with Iran? Should we try to negotiate a deal with them? Should we just destroy them? You can see this is kind of behind the scenes. You're onto something nice comment, Ellen.
Absolutely.
Just go ahead.
Yes, Steve.
I just have a question. Can we learn anything from the other occurrences of these words in the Torah with the dots?
Yes. Yes. So I haven't looked at all 10. It's fine. I didn't know Jenny's bringing this forward. It's called a kavod. But my understanding is that the dots come in when, and remember, the dots are not, well, this is getting more complicated, but like the trope marks, right, which Jenny actually put beautiful. I like how you put that into the comment, this thing here. Those are already much later. I mean, it's not an original Torah, how you chant it. That was put in later by the Masoretes. So the dots on top of it is a rare thing because it's also not part. So in all likelihood, okay, don't let it strike me here, right? The Torah was written. Then later, some scribes who read this Torah think this word doesn't make any sense in the context of the Torah. And it's almost like they're saying, this is what I remember learning from years ago, like, we're writing this down because this is what we think, this is what the tradition is, that we know this is the word, but we think there's something wrong or surprising or problematic. Which meaning, like, and just I want to make it even more complicated, in the Hebrew, the first line is, Vayarotz Esav likrato. That says clearly. Esav ran towards him. But after that, the rest of the line,
It's ambiguous.
it doesn't tell you who hugged who and who fell on whose neck. It's possible to read this as Esav ran to him and Jacob hugged Esav and Jacob fell on Esav's neck and they cried together. So it's even possible to read it that Jacob was like so potentially moved by him running towards him. Now, Vayarot's running, you'd think it sounds like an attack. Like, why else would you run? He could have walked casually. They could have, been crying already.
Or been afraid.
So I think there's even more. They're thinking, oh, my God, Esau's running to his brother? There's only one thing to do is to kill him. And so I think there's almost they're saying, watch out here. There's something wrong. But the truth is, maybe there isn't something wrong. Maybe it's the fact that the writer of that scribe is so stuck on an image of Esau as the bad guy, he can't get over it. Which I think, just want to add to that, I think is profound, is a lot of discussion we're having today in our own society to this very day, is systemically, how do we look at certain people? Can we ever get past the appearance of what we look at, whether that's gender identity, skin color, whether a person wears a hijab, right? We can get all the stereotypes of what we think, and I say we, not necessarily us here at Beth Meyer, but histories, hundreds, thousands of years of socialization primes us to look at the world one way. What does it mean when even the scribe couldn't get over it? And I think that's part of the dimension. I think it's a very nice point you're making there, Steve. Yes, Mr. Burton. כן.
Prior chapter,
כן.
when Jacob is by himself and he's got this, but he's separated his family.
Yes.
In the Torah it says he was afraid and he was frightened.
Correct.
And they say, why did they put the two? Why are these two?
Oh, I love this commentary. Yes. Yes.
And as it explained in Midrash, it said he was afraid that he was going to be killed.
That's right.
Yes.
He was frightened that he might kill his brother.
That's
Correct.
right.
Very good.
So the ambivalence is there too.
I love that color code.
On one side, if I kill someone,
So beautiful.
Okay.
morally I killed my brother.
Ken.
But I also, in the Torah, it says I can defend myself if someone's going to try to kill me.
One of the words is chared. I think it's yirava chared. I can't remember the way. Chared.
No, it's Vayira Vayitzer.
Oh, well, you're fair.
Yeah.
Shkoya.
So he's
Yes.
describing in the moment that precedes their reconciliation or their coming together, Yaakov wrestles with this being, this angel, this ego, this something. It's mysterious. And it describes that he is afraid. And it says he's afraid in two different ways. He's got yirah and he's sort of yitzer. He's constricted.
Sarah.
And he's in a problematic place. And as exactly Stuart suggested, the commentators say, why is that expressed in two different ways to express his fear? One is referring to the fact that he was afraid he was going to be killed by Esav. And the other is he is afraid he is going to kill.
He's going to have to kill.
He's
in a
going to
sense.
he's going to be
It causes
so
anxiety.
threatened that he will actually cause harm or
Just,
God
I want to add,
forbid,
just like the way I read this is actually funny because Hartman was into this big time. It's like the fear one has when you realize you have the power to actually kill someone. It's
Power.
actually a sense of anxiety on another side of it. But it plays off this dynamic between two. He loves his brother, so quote unquote, he wouldn't want to do it, but he's also afraid of his brother. Like this is the dynamic going on between your fist.
And I want to emphasize, I appreciate this so much because this feels very human to me. I don't know about for you, but it's actually very rare that I feel just one thing. It's possible to feel in a moment, both a sort of love, as we're reading in this text, like love for his brother, this desire to be in connection again in that way of family, of kin, and to be scared to death of him and to feel and to hate him. And those things can exist together. Robin.
Okay.
Yes, I think in a word it's complicated.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if the dots are doing exactly what we are participating in. It stimulates the discussion.
Yes.
It calls us in and invites us to participate. Because right where we find that word is the bystander's perspective. It's the observer's perspective. What did I see? What did they see? And the complication piece comes in for these brothers because there is no more intimate relationship than that of a twin. It transcends words, language, and even though we might observe, that's all we can do. That moment of intimacy is so deep.
Wow.
It transcends our ability to interpret. And so I think
Wow,
the
so
dots,
cool.
even though they're distributed elsewhere in Torah, invite us to connect on this very important pivot point where we don't know everything, we do observe, and then we examine ourselves and our present through that lens.
Wow.
Beautiful, Robin. Wow. That's a wonderful drasha.
Yeah. You wanna?
No, Robin was basically saying, just to sum up, but a beautiful commentary, it basically, the dots reflect a kind of something's being communicated here that we as outsiders will not, or observers do not fully understand or take in because it's an intimate connection between brothers. And something's being connected there that so the dots, then I love this because instead of saying it is surprising or doesn't make sense or watch
It
out.
just says it's complicated.
It basically says, like, step back. You're basically saying, this is not for you to totally maybe understand. And I think that's a really profound point. It's complicated, so step back in certain respect and humility for what's happening between the brothers. Beautiful, Rob. I love that idea. Wow.
Risa.
Amazing. Risa, vakasha. Right, that's... Right.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Reese
Yeah.
is basically saying, yeah, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
No, Reese is basically, I feel like you're saying, like, this is a pivot point, right? It could go in one of two
We don't know the
dramatically.
end.
We don't, exactly. And we don't know where it's going to go. So the dots are a statement of, like, watch out. Let's see where this is going to happen for you. But this is a pivot point in the entire story. I love these ideas because these dots are basically trying to convey something that's, like, really emphasizing the text in a way that we, and it's powerful. The scribe, well, he, or I assume it's a he, had to put it in there. You know, we might have read it ourselves, but it's like they're also shocked. They also don't know where it's going to go. Kol hakavod. Beautiful.
Stuart,
Ken.
you wanna?
Just one more point.
Oh.
Right after this happens,
Ken.
Esau says, "Come back with me.
Yep.
We'll go together." And Jacob says, "No, thanks very much.
Nachon.
Go on, and I'll go my way."
Ken.
And then you never see them again.
Yeah.
So there's that. Also,
Another ambiguity.
keeps that tension going about
Very nice. Correct.
real feelings of both of these men.
Yefeh. In fact, I know a famous rabbi gave a Devar Torah about that this week.
400 footmen greeted him. It's not just a greeting. There's something there that we have to probe as it comes to.
So I just wanted to start. George's being a beautiful point about this is where the brothers, they do reconcile, it appears, but then they decide not to live with each other. Economic reasons. Maybe it's a little more subtle than that. Maybe social reasons. They want to say, but they do come back together to bury their father, actually. But aside from that, you're right, they don't appear together again. They kind of like, my Devar Torah knows it. They realize that, we're brothers, we've worked it out, but honestly, we're not going to live, because we don't get along that great. We're going to give a little separate space. Kind of a realistic read on the situation, but you're right. They don't come together again. So it's another dynamic in terms of pivot point. All right, but
Mike.
Saleh.
I thought the second paragraph, I like how the switching of letters is a common tactic among our allies.
Yes, it is.
So you read, it's totally all over the Talmud.
Ken.
There was one, I think I remember one last night, where we're reading about rains. They took a word
Yes.
for rain and changed it to another word, and well, that word, if we just change one letter in that word,
Okay.
we get destruction. They're trying to do this thing about rain and destruction.
Yes.
And at first you said, okay, well, you just twist the text to mean whatever you want it to mean. But I think there's actually a deeper meaning there that a lot of times they're really trying to fit the practices of the people
Yeah.
to the text. I mean, sometimes they're deriving the practice of people from the text. Other times, so it suggests a tension in Judaism between the text and the practices of the people.
Yes.
And we're not solely trying to figure out exactly what the text has to say, okay, well, this is it, we just have to change what we're doing to fit this.
Ken.
And it's sort of a tension, some we fit oral Torah and written Torah. The fact that we're not expected to sort of be like automatons following what the rabbi, what somebody says is in the book. There's this tension thinking about, well, this is, and I mean, it surprised me last week we were reading about, it was the end of Rosh Hashanah, talking about the Teruah and Tekiah and that pattern. It's pretty clear that, at least to my reading of it, that pattern pre-existed.
Correct. That's right. That's right.
And people were obviously doing this. They're obviously saying, okay, well, this is consistent with the Torah.
Right.
The derivations get like this kind of derivation.
That's right.
Prove that this is exactly the pattern.
Beautiful.
Great.
There's some wisdom to the practice of the people.
Yes.
Not only in the
Yeah, it's like a sociological situation you're giving here. I think a very nice comment.
Yeah, so Mike's offering sort of a meta commentary that this kind of wordplay actually expresses the tension that the rabbis feel around sort of getting at the simplest meaning of the text, and how sometimes that really is dissonant with our lived reality. And so how do we find a way for our experience to meet the text and to harmonize that in some way? And that in moments when that doesn't work very easily, well, we could do a little play here.
I want to just add to Mike's saying, Mike, I think also in another meta way you're kind of touching on it, is that like when we read an ancient text or even a text from some years ago, one of the challenges is to try to get into the spirit of what the original author was going for. So we might judge a text because it's like, oh my God, this text seems old-fashioned, right? But in its context, it might have been revolutionary if we can get back. So it's like about, I think it's called anachronism, like getting, you can't sit here. So Mike's saying the values of the moment are reading that text and it doesn't seem to make sense. But originally it might have made total sense. It's about, so the current community is doing a lot of reading into a text, and how do we, that is being balanced all the time. Yifeh. Kol hakavod.
Else, Ellen? Yeah.
Right. Yes. Correct.
Which is not violent.
Right.
I haven't seen you in forever.
That's right. I agree.
Yes.
Ellen's basically saying why it makes sense, 100%.
Yeah, she likes the first opinion
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, well, and also your comment about not knowing who. It's very possible that it was Jacob, right?
That's right. Correct.
Yeah.
And, and maybe through body language, they sensed it's going to work out, which would also be very realistic, right? Usually you enter the room and you get a sense within a second by reading. So Ellen Joy is saying here, like, it's possible this is a very positive rom-com moment here. That's what it could have been. But the rabbis are stuck in their narrative. That's the challenge. They can't get it out of their head. All right, Linda, yeah.
Linda.
I think it's, a huge moment where family members are taking a risk to reconcile with
Yes.
each other, because I guess basically they've had a family feud or a fight or whatever that split them for a long time. And they're each coming with different faiths, right? I mean, Esau has his army, and Jacob has his family and animals.
Yes.
Which are, and the whole scene is where Jacob just completely suffocates himself to Esau. He is like, I messed up. I'm bowing to you. I'm
right.
offering you a whole bunch of goodies. And Esau, at that point, he sees this, and I mean, I can imagine, even if he was a meat guy, that, what am I going to do? And Esau's the one that runs to Jacob. And Jacob, goes and says, he approaches and sort of waits, because he's afraid. So I think the whole scene makes it look like, Jacob did everything he can to set it up. So Esau would, accept him back. I mean, and once they've done that, they've talked, whatever, okay, we resolved, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean we're going to pal around, we just did. Right? So, anyway, that's the way I see it. As a family resolving something.
So Linda laid out in beautiful language, sort of set the scene for us and imagined it actually as a moment where a family feud gets resolved. And it may not mean a best friendship for the brothers going forward, but they found a way through all of the various details and circumstances we get in this
To
story.
work it out.
Yes.
Last
comment, Harvey.
All right.
The run, I agree with the running. You have to remember that Jacob sent, I think, 4 times.
Yes.
People going forward with the gifts, and after a while you say, every time I would imagine Esau saw these emissaries coming, he would think that there's his brother, and the anticipation builds up. So naturally, when
That's
he
nice.
does see him,
Oh, that's sweet too. That's a very sweet
Beautiful.
point. I
Yeah.
thought about that, Harry.
So
Friend is
Harvey's describing like there were these multiple attempts
Yes.
of Yaakov to endear Esav, and he sent multiple messengers with offers of different
Yes,
kinds of
bows
gifts.
down.
And so with each moment of rapprochement, each moment of generosity, Esav was able to kind of reawaken that part, that merciful part of himself that said, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. We can move on. Yes. Oh, Sarah.
I'm sorry, I just have a question.
Yes.
he did something bad, you know, and he's trying to make it up. And so I'm wondering if that reading or that view of it has ever been, you know, sort of like, this is how we should resolve things, or
Absolutely.
you screwed up, and how do you make it so that this other person can see?
So we'll grab it, Sarah. Sarah basically saying, so this model of both sending gifts, you know, sending people ahead, bending down on, he prostrates himself 7 times like that. Yes, in fact, Nechama Leibowitz, a great Torah commentator, is often quoted by our B Mitzvah kids. In her commentary, specifically talks about this idea and basically says it is a model of how, in general, this is the way one should do repentance and tshuva, is through his ideas of personal demonstration as well as offering of some kind of like taking care of damages, something like this. These are all ways of demonstrating, and in fact, it's a model for, in general, even making peace agreements with other countries beyond like apologies, but how you work out between dynamics is by giving gifts like foreign aid, we'll say. Like she gets a whole variance of our Torah on this as a model, including humility, right? You know, some of the things have been done in our own country about all these formal apologies, whether in the end it actually has any practical difference per se, but the words of a president or a leader saying, I apologize on behalf of my country, it matters, right? That's kind of going on here about some foreign policy even, like, but I hear you saying even interpersonally too. Very nice job, Sarah. Kol hakavod. All right.
Yeah, we're going to wrap
I feel
up, but
badly.
I just want to say that I so appreciate the nuance, the complexity, the openness to wondering what this is really all about. And as I think about this past week in our country and a decision that was rendered in the courts related to this situation that happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I mean, I'm not going to share my opinions here, although I have my own opinions. But I think this whole idea of what we imagine other people are coming to do, and this idea that it really has life and death consequences. We see this, you know, in the Torah in a sort of somewhat rarefied way, but this is real. Like, this is real human stuff, and it's complicated. And I think we can, you know, as Robin said so beautifully, like, we can just stop a moment and step back and say, we're being invited in here to explore. We may never know exactly what is in somebody's heart or mind, but this is life and death. And it's worthy of our consideration. Yasher koach, everyone.
We now rise together, page 184, Chatzi Kaddish of Musaf.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה, בלבד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון ובחידך בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן דורי בימרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולם והלוויה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשא בריאו מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמא.
Amen. Our feet together towards Yerushalayim. 185 to 187 together. Rest of the Musaf is done silently.
Adonai sefakat yiftahu Baruch Adonai Eloheinu v'Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ויאהבה מלך עוזר ופוקד מושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה
אתה גיבור עולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחיה חיים וחסד, מחיה מתים ורחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, נשעני עפר, והמוך בגבורות, ומגדל מהלה, מלך ממיד ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני,
בשמו
לחיי המתים.
אמן.
נריצך ונקדיש לך, כצוציח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך,
והר הזה ועבר ראש גדול גדול, ארץ צבאות מלוא הארץ כבודו.
כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, הימקם כבודו לאומתם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבודו ממקומו הוא ייבם ברחמים ויחונם, המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר, בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים ביבמה, שמה אומרים, שמה ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנדלני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, דברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, אם לא אדוני ציון, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו תהיו לעולם ועד, כי אין מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
אמן.
203.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
בעלמא תברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חונו ומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב וימרו, אמן. שמי רבה מברך, לעולם עולם מהמיה, יתברך, יתברך, וישתבח, ויתפאר, ויתרומם, וינשא, ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ותעלה על שמי קודשה ובריחו, לעילם, מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא וימרו, אמן. תתקבץ לטון ואותון לכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דבישמי וימרו, אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו, אמן. עושה שלום רומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל וימרו, אמן. אין כאלוהינו, אין אדוננו, אין כמלכנו, אין כמשיחנו, מי כאלוהינו, מי אדוננו, מי כמלכנו, מי כמשיחנו, נותן לאלוהינו, נותן לאדוננו, נותן למלכנו, נותן למשיחנו, ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך משיחנו, אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא משיחנו, אתה הוא שהגדירו אבותינו לברך את תורת הסמים. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגוי הרצון, אלא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא שמו.
אוקיי, נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהים. Turn to page 207. Invite those in mourning observing a yard site this Shabbat. Vayishlach. Invite you to rise for Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divra kirute ve'amlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei b'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach leolam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shmei l'kodisha.
Brichu.
Leila min kol brachata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Tamiran v'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'yimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. We now invite our Bema Rep and Board of Trustee, Shana, to come forward with announcements.
Oh, there's multiples. Hi, I am Shauna Silverstein, and I am one of your Board of Trustees. Thank you to Joel and Lenore Raphael for sponsoring our Kiddush, and again, happy birthday celebrations for many years to come to that family. The weekly email recap, the extended holiday shopping hours, just highlighting there that don't forget Hanukkah is the early one this year, and in addition to the regular hours, the shop is going to be open on this Saturday, November 20th at 6 p.m., and they'll open an hour early on Black Friday, not to be excluded from the retail culture. Kadima Youth Group hike at Lake Lynn. The Kadena preteens are gathering for a hike, packed picnics, lunch at Lake Lynn on Sunday, November 21st from 1 to 3. And that Rabbi Jenny is going to be part of a restorative yoga with Dr. Barbara Vosk. And that is going to be happening on November 21st at 7 p.m. on Zoom, and you can join them. Can they register right up until then or beforehand?
Yep. Yeah. So that's happening this Sunday night at 7 o'clock on Zoom, restorative yoga. Hope you can join us.
And always thank you to our Torah readers and our Haftorah readers. So many names, so many cities.
Yes.
Amen.
So many
It was a
complicated
challenging reading
versions
today.
and inversions of them, and much respect to all of them for learning that.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shana.
So with that, is there anyone we know we have people visiting here, so we usually do a little introductions if you have not been here or not regulars. So if you just introduce yourself, Raphael, who's here in your mishpacha? Tell us here, Joel, who's here? Who's here with you? You can stand up and say who you are. Who are you guys? Come.
I'm Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I'm visiting from Colorado.
Awesome.
Yay.
My family's coming tonight, as well as my son and daughter and granddaughter.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. And who's still over here? Yes, please. I know you guys.
I've been here before.
That's right.
My brother Stephen, younger brother, my son Jonathan, my daughter Kira, my daughter Elise.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Great to see you.
Ganze
Awesome.
Mishpacha.
Fantastic.
Love it.
Is there anyone else here who is visiting or newish to here? I think most people are regulars at this point or been here before.
Yes.
Okay? All
Yes.
right, you're fit. All right.
We'll close with Adon Olam, page 211. Adon Olam, Asher Malav, B'Terem Kol Yetzir Nira, V'Ed Nasa V'Chefza Kol, Hazai Melech, Shemo Nira, V'Yacharei Kilot HaKol, Levado Yimlok Nora, Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh, Ve'yeh Divara, Ve'hu Echad, Ve'en Sheni, Lehavshilo, Lehavbira, Ve'li Reshit, Ve'li Tachlit, Ve'lo Oz, Ve'lo Ve'amizrach, Ve'hu Eli, Ve'chai Golim, Ve'tzur Chelim, Ve'etzara, Ve'hu Nisi, Umanos Li, Menat Kosi, Ve'yom
Please
Ekra,
rise.
Ve'ado Avdi Ruchi, Ve'tishan Ve'ayira, Ve'im Ruchi, Ve'viati, Adonai li, Adonai li, Ve'lo yira. Al Kein Berach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat Vayikachehu Savri.
L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri agafe.
Amen. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lehem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Thanksgiving. Shabbat Shalom. Varach. Shkoyach.